Welcome, dear listeners, to Satanist Next Door. We're your hosts, Lilin
and Tommy Levine.
Whether you're an open-minded, curious onlooker or a fellow Satanist seeking camaraderie, our goal is to share our personal experiences and delve into the intricate tapestry of Satanism in our daily lives, occasionally inviting other guests to share their unique perspectives, leaving no pentagram unturned. We'll explore how our beliefs shape our views on society, dive into struggles and triumphs we've encountered, and reveal the humanity that unites us all. So grab your favorite chalice and join us on this captivating journey. Satanist Next Door is ready to peel back the curtain and offer you a glimpse into our world, one captivating episode at a time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Satanist Next Door. It's been a little bit. We've had a lot going on, and as we said a few weeks ago that we would take a little bit of a break when our daughter gave birth, and she did. And so that brought up this important topic of abortion again. And this time, the way these draconian abortion laws not only affect women who are looking to have an abortion, but affect women who want a child, who are going through a pregnancy, and something could go wrong. Something could go wrong in birth, and how now in states like Texas, the doctors are pretty much handcuffed. They are afraid to do anything. They will tell women to go out in the parking lot to bleed out. They'll tell them to become septic, because if it's deemed that they assisted in an unwarranted abortion, which could simply be healthcare and saving the mother's life, they could face up to a $100,000 fine and 99 years in jail. So ask yourself, if you were a doctor, what would you do? You know, and for this reason, a lot of people have a lot of doctors have left, but this became really relevant in a personal way to us as our daughter went through her pregnancy, and how, pregnancy is normally a happy period and all of that, but this also added a very large fear inside of her pregnancy for us as her parents, because at any time if something happened, what will the doctors do? And even during birth, I mean, when she was giving birth, when she was in labor and delivery, it was a scary moment for us as her parents, because the thought is there, what happens if something goes wrong?
Yeah, and we thought about that a lot, and it was just really it put things in perspective for a whole different reason. And, I very much empathize and sympathize with people that don't have the resources or the support system, or people that, have valid reasons for seeking an abortion, which the only valid reason you need is not wanting to be pregnant.
Yep.
But, people that wanted to be pregnant that then found there were horrific issues that kind of necessitated looking for abortion care. So, I mean, now people from all over the state of Texas, from so many different states, are trapped by often religious motivated laws that take away their freedoms to decide what the right thing is for their lives, for their bodies, and even what the most compassionate thing to do is for a fetus that has something wrong with them that makes them incompatible with life.
Yeah. And why does this matter to Satanism? So to me, it matters to Satanism for a couple of reasons. Obviously, the, bodily autonomy, big one when it comes to abortion, no matter what the reason. But also, the one that sticks out is number 5, the beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. Mm-hmm. One should not take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at what these laws are doing to women who want a child, they want to be pregnant, but something happens, we are taking scientific facts and distorting them for these lawmakers and Christian nationalists' religious beliefs. And that's wrong.
It would be just as wrong if, let's say, one of my religious beliefs was that everyone should have the right to an abortion, no matter, whether they want it or not, that if it's the right thing, that they should have to have an abortion. And I would never, ever support that. But if they were, let's just say my beliefs were, if you're not in the right position, you should have to do it.
Right. Or if you've got more than 2 children. You shouldn't have more than 2 children.
I would never, ever support something like that. But let's just pretend for a moment that my beliefs said something like that. That if you were in a situation where you couldn't provide, then you should have to do it. Mm-hmm. Then I could see being really upset about a position. But my position is that each individual is intimately aware of their life, their body, their situation, and the individual who's pregnant should always have the final say what is right in their situation. And every situation is unique.
Absolutely. And I will fight just as, because a lot of people, they look at anybody that's pro-choice, like myself, like you, and they think, they throw out there, oh, baby killer, you're just looking, you're hoping to kill babies. But you know what I would say is, if a woman came to me and said, I really want to have this child, and I'm getting heavy pressure from my partner to have an abortion, I don't want an abortion, I would be on the side of the woman who wants to have the child, because it's her body. It's her choice at that point. The man's choice ended in this whole thing when they decided to have sex. Mm-hmm. At that point, their choice ended, because everything after that happens within inside of a woman's body.
You see the argument a lot where, some guys are saying that, you're taking away their rights and their autonomy. And no, I have to disagree. You, as a sperm providing individual, have every right to decide what happens and, where your sperm goes, whether or not it goes anywhere. And once you've released that sperm, it's now the problem of the person that has possession of the sperm. So, it doesn't matter how you feel after that. Your body is no longer affected. You're no longer, being medically disadvantaged in any way. You're not being harmed in any way. You are no longer involved in that manner. Now, emotionally, you might have things going on, in your community, in your personal life. Those are things valid, sure. There may be things that you're struggling with, and there are appropriate ways to deal with that. Counseling is a great option.
Conversation
is a great option. But at the end of the day, if the person who is now affected by that sperm does not want to be the recipient of an unwanted pregnancy, sorry, that's the end of it, and you can feel however you want to feel. You're entitled to that. You can discuss it with the individual who's now pregnant and looking to make decisions on what involvement you can have, if any. But at the end of the day, it's now the person who's affected for the next 9 months and on.
Yeah, and I do want to say something in here. I know when we talk about this, I say women's rights a lot, women pregnant. I do want to make sure that it's understood that I completely... what's the words I'm looking for? I recognize that trans men can become pregnant, and they are a part of that equation. It's just when I'm making an argument, it's easier to kind of boil it all down to women's rights rather than kind of. So I am recognizing the trans community within inside of this, and I want to make sure that is clear, that I'm not leaving you all out. You're absolutely included, and like your statement said, the person who gave the sperm and the person who received the sperm,
Yeah. I mean, I just tend to speak that way because it's very present in my mind all the time that there are so many individuals that can become pregnant, and there's just so many different conversations around it. And the ultimate thing is, whoever it is that's become pregnant, they ultimately have to live with that situation, and they are the ones that are aware of what they can and cannot handle, what they will and will not be able to do. And in other situations, they're the ones that are getting the unfortunate news that there is a fetal abnormality or an issue that now necessitates the decision, a very difficult decision, because again, at those points, people have already picked out names and rooms and colors, and they've already imagined an entire life with a future individual. So, it's a callous perspective to act as though people going to get an abortion are just these horrific individuals. It shouldn't matter if you're married and you're looking for an abortion, if you're single and you're looking for an abortion, if you're a person who enjoys sex and you're looking for an abortion. None of these things negate the fact that you have a right to decide what you will and will not allow for your body.
Yeah, and there is that healthcare part of it, and the idiotic things that I hear coming from, a lot of these Christian nationalists. You hear everything from women are having abortions at 8 months. Look, nobody has gone 8 months through a pregnancy. All the body changes, all the things that happen, and then 8.5 months in go, you know what, I changed my mind. At that point, it is generally something horrific has happened. And there is no such thing as a post-birth abortion.
No.
I mean,
there's compassionate care that's provided in that situation where a fetus is born and now that infant is just not going to survive. And that's a whole different situation where some people feel like you should then prolong it as much as possible. Look, that's for the person in that situation to decide, but from my perspective, were I in that situation, I would want to do the most caring and compassionate thing and sort of stop any suffering from going on long term. If there just isn't anything that can be done, what is the benefit?
Right. I mean, we do the same thing for people that get in car accidents and they're put on life support. At some point, we say there is no chance.
What's the forward. Caring and compassionate thing to do?
How is this caring and compassionate to keep somebody either suffering if they're, or if there's just... So, yes, we do this for adults too. There is no such thing as somebody has a baby and then 3 weeks later they go back to the hospital and say, you know what, I changed my mind. And so let's just take that bullshit propaganda, religious propaganda, and let's throw that out the fucking window.
Yeah. It's also not wrong for someone to find out that they're pregnant and not want to be for various reasons.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely not wrong to just find that you're in that situation. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be sexual. There's nothing wrong with doing everything you can to be proactive about preventing a pregnancy and then it not working. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having a situation where you were irresponsible and then you realize what's going on and then you choose the responsible thing to say, I'm not in a position to do this, and then you decide abortion is the right choice. It should always be your choice, though. It shouldn't be like your parents told you to do it, your best friend said it was the right thing, the person that knocked you up. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's your body.
Right.
And your choice at that point. And like you were saying, I mean, it's just, again, we've talked about abortion from the right of somebody who gets pregnant, they don't want to be pregnant. And that is still just as valid in this conversation as it was in the other conversations. Mm-hmm. It was amazing as we went through this process in a state like Texas, which has such draconian laws that women, I mean, we had 20 women sue the state of Texas, went all the way up to the Supreme Court because they were women who wanted a child. Mm-hmm.
Some that will now never be able to have children at all because of the lack of comprehensive care.
Yeah, because they were forced to bring a terminal pregnancy to term, and the damage that was done, and they were forced to do that through Texas law. And it's not just 20 women that this has happened to. It was 20 women that got together and said, you know what? We think we have enough examples here. Let's go to the court. This has been public. People have seen it. They know our stories. Let's try this. And the Texas Supreme Court basically gave them the big old middle finger and said, no, we do not care about your health.
And the deciding board that they use, one of the individuals is a prominent pro-life advocate. I mean, you can't get more biased than that. So I have huge issue with the way that Texas is doing, but it's not just Texas.
No.
It's many states. I mean, a huge portion of the South is now completely without recourse. And when you think about it, individuals that become pregnant, there's some people that have multiple jobs, that have other children, that have obligations. It's not easy to travel now outside of the state just to get care that you you should be able to access at any medical facility.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be hard enough when it was in the same city and you had to make an appointment and all of the things that you have to do. If you've ever gone to a doctor's appointment and you work and stuff like that, you know how difficult and how disruptive to your day that can be. And if you've ever had a procedure, any kind of, let's just say outpatient surgical procedure, it's disruptive. Now, on top of that, now people have to leave the state. And it's not necessarily, oh, we're just going to jump over the border, because a state like Texas is huge. To drive through it is at least 12 hours, you know.
Depending on where you live.
Depending on where you live. And on top of that, Texas has put in these invisible abortion borders that, you know, there's certain highways that, you know,
towns
and highways that they're junctures that if you're leaving the state, you pretty much have to go through this town. And they've made it illegal. Now, I'm not quite sure how they're going to enforce this, but they've made it illegal, on top of abortion being illegal, but they've made it illegal to travel through that,
right,
or on that stretch of road,
okay,
if you're leaving to have an abortion.
I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit on this. I think the majority of what's going on here is a scare tactic. There are constitutional rights that impeding one's travel is just not something that's permitted. And I know everyone's going to say, but they've already changed things. And you're right. They've made changes to constitutional things, and they've used their own special brand of logic to do it.
Well, and we've seen Texas throw the Constitution and say, fuck you to the Constitution.
More times than I could say. I mean, just for example, we've gone through some very serious weather-related issues, and the state that seems to think they don't need federal anything certainly seems to put their hand out for federal assistance.
Yeah, we're going to succeed, but, oh, wait, we need federal tax money.
They're not succeeding at seceding.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's fine. It just looks really freaking ridiculous when you've got these states like Texas, and as I understand it, they're not the only ones looking to secede at this point. But the argument is just laughable when you continue to take billions of dollars in federal aid and utilize it while saying you don't need it.
So Illinois wants to succeed, but they want to leave Chicago.
Yeah,
so
because that doesn't represent their values.
The idiocy of that. They want the whole state to secede, but the fucking city of Chicago. Yeah. Like, I mean, this is how stupid this stuff has become. But again, most of this stuff is driven by religious theocracy. And
extremism.
That is the reason why we are talking about it. It's the reason why we're harping on it.
Right.
Yes, I understand. There are some atheists that are against abortion and all of this.
There are people in every group that are pro-life. There are people that are in every group that are pro-choice. But it's represented across the board.
It is. But the majority of people that are pushing these laws, the reason why these laws are able to get over the finish line is because they are backed by Christian nationalists, who are a large group, a powerful group, well-funded group, lots of money, and they can push these through. And they have this fucked up view of America, that America is a Christian nation. It's not. It's not. It says in the Constitution, it's very clear, no one religion should be put over another. But yet we do it over and over and fucking over again in this country. And at this time, we are stepping all over people's rights.
Yep.
And that needs to stop. So again,
so it comes down to how it applies. Why does it apply? Under what circumstances? So the argument for all of this that I've heard multiple times from multiple states is because of God. Life starts at conception, which I disagree with. I believe a unique human organism is in the process of development. I believe, all things go well. It will eventually become an individual once born. But I don't feel that there's any guarantee provided for that process to successfully complete. There's no guarantee that life will be the outcome of conception. And to push this bizarre narrative that the minute something's conceived, that some invisible deific force now has deemed that this is a special, unique person that's saved by them,
drops a little spirit inside of it, or soul.
Bizarre. Now, if people choose to align with those beliefs and they choose to live according to that, fantastic. I am glad for you. I wish you the best. But for those that don't want to live under those specific interpretations of those beliefs, there should be no way to enforce that on them.
Well, and here's the other way. So when you look at these laws being pushed through, generally look at a picture of the group of people that did it. And there's two ways that you can tell. One, you can look at the picture of the people that did it. Normally it's about 90% men, older men. And then the second way that you can tell that this is heavily driven by religious men is they argue that life starts at conception, but child support doesn't start until birth. So you've got 9 to 10 months there that supposedly this is a living, this is to be treated just as a person, except when it comes to the father's financial responsibility to it.
Yeah.
None of those have gone through. Not a single one of those have gone through. And so I really kind of wish somebody would call bullshit on that, on the political side, and say, well, hold on, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If this is this, then, by the way, all of these men, they owe 9 to 10 months of back child support.
There's doctor's visits, and there's things that, medication. And
having a baby, the hospital bill for that is not cheap.
No.
Even with insurance.
Again, the other way that this relates to Satanism is, as you see these more extremist beliefs pushing the idea that they have the right to essentially force this on everybody and anybody, regardless of their beliefs. And there's the aspect that where Satanists are often called, as this is something that's ritualistic, and the proof is that we actually have a satanic abortion ritual.
We do it at midnight.
Let me just go ahead and dispel this. We would never, ever, ever say to someone, you're pregnant, we should do this like special sacrifice thing. No, that is not what happens. So what happens is a person who aligns with the beliefs of Satanism.
TST specifically.
But they consider themselves, Satanic Temple Satanist. They have the right to seek an abortion ritual. There is a virtual abortion clinic in New Mexico, and there is a campaign, the RRR, the Religious Reproductive Rights Campaign. There's a virtual clinic, the Samuelito's Mom's Satanic Abortion Clinic, or SAMSAC for short, and it provides people with medical abortion. So that's specifically pill related. That's something you have to do much earlier on, and unfortunately, it is limiting because of that. But the quote unquote satanic abortion ritual is for the individual. It has nothing really to do with the fetus per se.
No.
The person who is pregnant gets to use 10 and 3 and 10 and 5. 10 and 3 being that one's body is inviolable, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. So that's very important, right? We're talking about bodily autonomy. And then 10 and 5, beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific fact to fit one's belief.
Bingo.
Then there's a personal affirmation. By my body, by my blood, by my will, it is done. I, as a person that's pregnant, get to decide whether or not I want this. I am choosing for myself and my body this direction. So we're affirming the individual's choice. And then the way that this is typically done, you can choose to have a minister walk through it with you, but you find a quiet space where you're comfortable. You have some things that you can see, like yourself, a mirror or something like that. And then you have a copy of the Satanic Temple's 3rd and 5th tenet, which you read, and it's supposed to give you comfort in a difficult situation. And I say it's a difficult situation because regardless of what your choice is, you recognize the gravity of what you're doing, even though it's perfectly right for you, even you know all these things. It's not easy, especially when you have the way society likes to push things on you. And so all we're doing is affirming individuals' right to make these decisions for themselves. And at any point, if they change their mind, we absolutely support the fact that they can just stop and choose to just remain pregnant and see that through. That's always up to the person, and no one should ever feel obligated either way if they've decided to change their mind or if they decide to go forward with it. It is always supposed to be up to them.
Yeah. So all this other shit you hear, like, collecting the fetus and using fetus and blood rituals, and this is all bullshit that people get from either movies or it's just flat out lies. And look, I've seen enough Hollywood horror movies, and they've got some great special effects in there and shit, but hey, here's the catch. It's a fucking movie. It's made to scare you. It's like, I don't believe Freddy Krueger's going to come out of my closet when I go to sleep. You know why? because it's a fucking movie. And so all of this other shit that you hear and that they try and use, oh my God, there's a pizza place and they've got a underneath and all of this sort of shit, and we bathe in the blood of
yeah, that's gross.
Of
very
fetuses.
unsanitary.
Yeah, very unsanitary. Is just all complete total bullshit. And if you believe it, I am really sorry about that, but you should get a reality check and sort of, come back down to the planet Earth.
Right. I mean, again, so it's satanic because we believe in bodily autonomy. It's satanic because we believe in supporting individuals' right to decide what's right for them. And to sit there and try to pretend one religion in specific has the whole deciding factor for everybody.
Yeah, the bingo card that everybody else has to go by.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. So, again, if you're curious about the religious reproductive rights campaign that TST does, you're more than welcome to go and check them out. There's lots of opportunity to learn more at the RRR-campaigns at the Satanic Temple, and they've got lots of stuff. They've got flyers, and they've got, a lot of different resources for you to look for yourself and see what that's about. But, if you feel like you're in a situation where you're not able to get the help you need, there are tons of other resources out there that are available for, medicated abortions or surgical abortions. There are funds for people that are stuck in places where they can't get access to those things. There are tons of counselors to help you if you might be going through a depressive episode because of a pregnancy, because it does cause imbalances. Yep. And you're not sure where you are on your position. There are plenty of dedicated counselors that understand this and can help you just kind of sort that out. So please don't feel like you're trapped. Please, I know that with the way this is done, a lot of people are stuck in situations that are completely unfair. But you're not alone. There are people out there that want to support you. And, hopefully when it comes time to vote, and I'm not telling you how to vote, but I'm telling you that you have the opportunity to influence the situation. And so whatever your stance is, just look for whatever will help you to move to whatever it is you think is the best for you and for your options.
Yeah, and your loved ones. And the other thing to keep in mind too is as we talk about how this is being pushed by theocracy. This is being pushed by Christian nationalists. Right now, the medication is available in many states. Again, that is starting to be pushed to be illegal. Birth control. Again, how do you stop a pregnancy a lot of times? Not 100% of the times, but a lot of times. Pregnancy, everybody always says, well, she should have been careful,
Birth control is...
If you take birth control away, well, then you're taking away the being careful
to
part.
To be very clear, because, a lot of people say that there's a biased perspective. I have had children. I've had an abortion. I have gotten pregnant while on birth control.
Yep.
And have had the discussion and chosen to either, keep or end a pregnancy. And when I was in a position to keep the pregnancy, even though it was not something necessarily planned, the discussion happens. Can we? Can't we? Is it the right thing? When our decision, because I am married and wanted to include my partner, but ultimately he would have respected whatever I chose.
Yep.
But we decided it was the right thing in our life, in our situation, with our family. And no one should be ashamed if they find themselves in that position and they feel like it's not. For various reasons. So it's okay to just say, I'm fine with where I am and I don't want to be pressured into something.
Yeah. And so, again, you kind of have the birth control, trying to take that away. You have the abortion medications, trying to take that away, which, by the way, those medications aren't only for abortions. They're used for other things as well.
Emotional regulation.
And then you have IVF, which, again... I think it was Alabama showed their hand, I think a little too early,
Hell, Arizona.
They showed their hand on where they're going to fall on this if they gain power. And so anybody who's able to become pregnant are going to be losing a lot of their personal rights, their satanic rights, if the Christian nationalists make it through. Again, it's your choice who you want to vote for, but you have to think about not even yourself. When I go to vote, I think about my children too, You know,
Or,
how
you know,
will this affect my children?
A lot of these states aren't even putting in exceptions for incest. They aren't putting in exceptions for rape. You have to think about the children who are being affected by abusive environments and what options they're going to have. This is going to be life-altering for people at so many levels, and it will cause issues with, and this is the selfish side, but nobody likes to talk about it, right? The increase in insurance premiums, because there will be an excess of special needs and, you know, life non-compatible fetuses born, that then, you know, people have to pay for lots of extra types of care. And if you have insurance, that's wonderful. There's plenty of people that don't and can't.
And there's people that have shitty insurance that doesn't cover any of that sort of stuff.
So, I mean, when these things go to insurance, as we all know, it ends up jacking up premiums, so that affects other people. When you look at the healthcare options that are out there, there aren't many opportunities for people to, you know, get the care they need when it comes to things like long-term neonatal care, when it comes to the NICU, when it comes to special food, when it comes to special medication, when it comes to needing oxygen tanks or other devices. You're not thinking about the long-term consequences, or the fact that when you have a special needs child, you have to be out of work. You know, who's paying for that? And so there's
I think that's part of the, you know, I really do believe getting women out of the workforce is part of this whole thing, but that can be
that's a different topic.
That's a different topic, but it is related.
When I talk about this topic, you know, when I make decisions, when I vote for things, I make sure to vote for healthcare, for education, for childcare, for living wages, because all of these things are interconnected. So when I say that I support people either way, it means that if they decide that they want to go ahead with the pregnancy, even if they are financially uncovered and they can't necessarily do these things easily, it should still be, especially if you're stuck in a situation where you don't have a choice, where you can still get an education, where the child once born can still get medical care and an education, where you can get food, housing, living wages, you know, all these supports that you're going to need in order to raise a healthy individual.
Which, by the way, is yet another thing that the Christian nationalists are pulling back. So they can't really call themselves pro-life, because pro-life means you are pro that life up until the point and after it is born. They're forced birth. That is all they care about, is that fetus is born. Once that fetus is born and becomes a baby, it is somebody else's responsibility, and they want no help. They want no help from the state. They want the state to give no medical help. They want to cut food, lunch, you know, for children. Yeah, let's let all these children that
again, we're getting off on a tangent, but even the school choice thing, where public schools will end up closing, and it's already starting to happen in some of the states that have implemented that, which means that you're going to lose local to you access to education. It means that education will be harder to get to. It means that you're going to have more segregated type of educational environments. It means that you're going to have less oversight and less transparency in the actual education. So again, that's a different subject for another day, but it is all kind of
all kind of twisted together and wrapped up with this great big bow around the fucking Bible.
Yeah.
You know,
well, the 7 Mountain Mandate, to be specific.
The Christian nationalists, evangelical, 7 Mountain. I mean, yeah, it's wrapped up around those radical extremists. What I kind of call the Christian Taliban, the U.S. Taliban, the Yalaban, Al-Qaeda, you know, whatever it is you want to call them. But there is a good, solid, and it's kind of fucking scary, like 35% of our population that falls into this.
Yeah, a spectrum of, So some of them are more.
And some of them are less. Yeah. And some of them, and I did have hope when, I remember when Beto was running in Texas. And this was obviously before Roe was overturned. I think if Roe was overturned, he would have won in a landslide, because even at that point, there were Christian evangelical women that were voting for him by the thousands,
right?
Like the tens of thousands, hundreds of
Which
thousands.
is where this weird sentiment to get rid of the 19th and to stop women from voting and to make votes household dependent.
Yeah, the man gets to dictate who you vote for,
or you get one vote per household.
Yeah.
So.
And I've seen everything from one vote per household to you have to be a property owner. You have to be of a certain I mean, they're not saying this shit behind closed doors anymore. This is right out in the open. When they overturned Roe, they made the comments in there about birth control. They made comments in there about the LGBTQIA
about
community. Interracial marriage. I mean, so there was a lot there that they gave you a preview of. This isn't maybe they gave you a fucking preview. They gave you the plan book, and then you've got Project 25, which lays it all fucking out for you.
25, yeah. It's pretty scary. This
pretty
stuff that's
fucking
in there.
Scary.
And I do encourage you, even though it's 900 and some odd freaking pages, to give it a good look, because it is them definitely clearly projecting what their thoughts are around what their future ideally would look like.
Yeah. And so again, kind of bringing this all the way back to where we started. You know, we've talked about a lot of this stuff before when it comes to abortion, but we've talked about it from the you have a right to an abortion if you get pregnant. You don't want to be pregnant. But we had never lived through, you know, when you were pregnant, all the times that we've had children was before these draconian laws were put into place. Excuse me. And so even though pregnancy all by itself can be a little bit scary because, you know, things happen.
Yeah, and we had hard discussions to make those decisions, yeah.
You know, people still die in pregnancy. But
alarmingly so, we have a very high infant mortality rate and maternal mortality rate in this country. So,
but now there's the added component of holy shit. If something goes wrong, they might not treat my daughter.
Yeah,
they might let my daughter die or get her so close to the point of death that she could die or become permanently injured or disabled or sterile and never able to have another child again. And that is a scary, that was terrifying to go all the way through. So for the whole sort of 9 months, it was terrifying. And then during labor and delivery, I remember, because it was, you know, kind of her and her husband in the room, and, you know, so we're at home, we're waiting, we're texting back and forth, and it's like, is everything okay? Everything doing okay? No issues? Because it was scary as fuck. It was like, holy shit, what happens if something happens?
The fear really was that they won't prioritize her life as being important.
Right. They would prioritize the infant over her.
Right. And it was a horrible thing. And I of course, you know, you want them both to be fine. You know, you're rooting for everyone to come out of that okay. And it feels really messed up to have those thoughts of, you know, man, I don't want them to prioritize, you know, this potential child over my existing child, you know, because I don't want to see that happen. It's a horrible thing. But, you know, it's such a conflicting emotion. So, you know, I know we held our breath. We decided we would wait until the end to actually discuss it because we wanted to make sure, you know, things went okay. And they did. And we were fortunate in that. And
we have a beautiful grandson, you know, and
they're amazing parents. So, I mean, that's been great. They're amazing
parents. And she was really smart about, she set her own rules. You know, this is, you know, we raised our kids to be independent thinkers. And when she had her baby, even before she had her baby, she had the rules laid out. You had to be fully vaccinated in order to see the baby and to be within, you know, within any reach or the room or anything like that. And she enforces with her own family members that delayed or dragged their feet and, you know, got the vaccination the day before. And she was like, well, you got to wait 2 weeks. And as a parent, I was so proud of that, to look and say, wow, you really did become fully independent. You know, this was not input from us. This was her making her own decisions and standing by them, having the confidence enough to stand by them, and having a good enough partner too.
Yeah, who stood by them
and supported her.
And then our job as parents at that point are to just respect and, where needed or where, you know, called for, share some friendly advice, but to understand that it doesn't matter, that it's not up to you, and just standing by what their decision is. So, you're there, you support, you give the feedback, and then you just go along with what it is they want, because it's not about you.
Yeah. And as grandparents, you get to play with grandbaby. And then when grandbaby poops, you give grandbaby back.
No, that's just you.
No, but I mean, it truly was. I can't express, because I was there for all births of our children. It was a completely different thing to have a child go through. And I say child, she's in her 20s. They're grown-ass adults. But to me, she's my child, to go through that process.
Feeling very helpless.
Feeling helpless at times. Yeah. Seeing where they did listen at certain times. They took our advice on certain things.
Yeah, I was going to say, not necessarily listening, just hearing what we had to say and taking it into account. But yeah. And then other times where they had very, different opinions, and they made sense. And even if they didn't, it's not my call.
Right, exactly. And as parents, that's our job as parents, is to support our children. And I say this regardless of whether, and we see it all the time. We see it with kids that are in the LGBTQI plus spectrum, their parents disowning them or whatever. It's your job as a parent to love your children. It's your job to support your children.
Provide foundational understanding, give them the best guidance possible, listen to their fears, share your knowledge and experience, but let them be who they are.
Let them be them, And so, again, like I said, this was a different look at abortion. And I think it's an important look, too, because, again, so many people, when you talk about abortion, it's been so spun up by the forced birthers as just mean people that want to kill babies, which, again, just isn't the case. But sometimes that catches people's emotional side of it.
It's buzzworthy and shock. Yeah.
But it's important to catch the other side of it as well, and just to understand what these draconian laws do and how harmful they are, even for people who want children. And again, that's what the lawsuit was about in Texas. They lost yesterday, Friday, today, Saturday. So it was yesterday. They lost that all the way up at the Supreme Court. Again, I wasn't surprised. Texas is kind of a little theocracy inside of the United States, and moving more and more towards a full theocracy as much as they can. I would hate to see what this state would look like if they were actually able to succeed from the Union.
Secession is a...
Wow. I mean, that would be...
I don't know. That's really settled, but I mean, is anything really settled anymore? Anyway, so, I mean, it was really important for us to share this and to wait till the end to know what the conversation would look like and how we even felt, because there were plenty of times I think I didn't think about it and just kind of tried to...
push it off?
Yeah. And avoid some of the thoughts, because there were some scary points. And... to everyone that's in this situation, I'm sorry for where you are right now. I hope together we can move things in a way that everyone's respected, regardless of what their choice is, and everyone has the same rights and capability for themselves everywhere. But for now, we can support one another, and we can fight to ensure that those rights are reinstated and codified in the future.
Yeah, and I'll say one more thing on this. The whole defeating Roe and Dobbs came in as a states' rights issue. That's how they presented it. That's how they won it. And then when they saw that even Republican states, when they gave the people the option to vote, because a lot of people, Texas, we didn't have the option to vote on this.
Nope.
This was slammed in by our legislator, our legislation. We didn't get to vote. There was no vote saying, hey, now that this is up to states' rights, we're going to put it out there for the voters to vote. Never happened in Texas. Didn't happen in a lot of other states. The states it did happen in, they lost, then they lost big. And then all of a sudden they started to realize, holy shit, this isn't going to work. So I will guarantee your ass, if they gain power, this will become a national ban. They will move from states' rights to a national ban so quick your fucking head will spin. And you will be like, whoa, hold on. The whole Supreme Court thing was about states' rights. Now it's a national ban.
Like, it's a very personal decision how you choose to vote and what your personal alignments are.
Yes.
And those are yours to have. Just please keep in mind what kind of future you're voting and the way these things affect the loved ones in your life or other people in your community. And just, go based on that. And I wish you the best. And I hope that, next year we can be talking about a lot of different things.
I really hope so. I really, really do. So yes, again, we can't tell you how to vote. All we can say is think about your vote. Think how it will not only affect you, but it'll affect the people you love and care for. And make your decision based off of that and the best scientific facts out there. And
yes.
With that, I think it's a good place to wrap. So have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever the hell you are. And
Hail Satan.